Well, as we age, many of us think more about our health, and we rely on understanding the details of our healthcare plan and having a primary care doctor that you trust. That is really important, and also one that knows your individual needs.
That's right. Knowing your personal history is so important. And Kevin Green, sales director from Humana, joins us now with some thoughts on the subject. Kevin, thanks for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now, give us a little background, especially in terms of a primary care provider. What is that exactly?
Yeah, so primary care provider, a lot of people refer to them as their PCP. So one way to look at them is to consider them your quarterback of your health care. So they're the first person that you visit for your health and wellness screenings, but they also refer you to your specialists when needed, and give you your prescriptions and things like that for your medications.
Well, and it's so important to have a positive relationship, with your primary care doctor. And I know that for some people, maybe their plan changes and then they have to change doctors, or there's, a good portion of doctors who've retired during the pandemic. And so you lose your primary care. There you are again. Why do you feel this relationship is so important? What do you do to recommend building a great relationship with a primary care?
Well, you hit on a couple points, because here specifically in Nevada, there's access to care is something that comes up often for us. So, you may have an established relationship with a provider, and that provider moves on, and now I can't get into a doctor's office for weeks at a time. What do I do, right? So first and foremost, establishing that relationship, building that trust, and having that open line of communication is key with someone who's going to be really coordinating your healthcare for you. So that's really the most important thing, is finding someone that you could be open and communicative with, and but also you need to respect their medical expertise, and then you know your body better than anyone, so you need to trust that as well. So I think it's a reciprocal relationship.
For sure. Now, for people who are already involved or enrolled in Medicare, how should they start this process? What do you recommend?
First and foremost, I think you should talk to a licensed Medicare sales representative, which Humana offers that, because they really have a pulse on the providers that are in the community. For example, they can help guide you and match you with a provider that's going to fit your needs. So for example, there may be a certain specialty that you want to lean towards, and you want to talk to a provider that specializes in that area. You may need a provider who's maybe bilingual, for example. We can help link you with those providers. So being that we're out there in the field and have those established relationships, we can help connect the dots for our consumer base. So I think it's a good place to start.
Can you also help people connect to a new primary care provider, PCP, we called it, correct? If they're shopping for one. I know that I have looked for a primary care physician here in the Valley, and I really love to read people's bios. I like to see where they went to med school. I like to see how long they've been in practice. Do you recommend taking those kind of steps too if you're researching?
I think 100%, and just like everything, just be a consumer with your provider. So it's okay to go visit a provider and see if it's a good match for you. Ask friends and family, but again, talk to people that are in the field, like a licensed Medicare representative who works so closely with the providers is going to help coordinate that. And maybe it's just geographically it makes sense. They're close to me. So there's lots of things that you could look at, and that's just one of them.
Let's talk about relationships, because building trust with your doctor is so important. What types of advice would you give somebody who's trying to build a strong foundation in relationship with their doctor?
Well, I think you need to be involved in that relationship. So, first and foremost, I would say have a checklist. Here's the things that I want to talk about today with my provider. You definitely want to think about health history and family history and bringing that to the table and make sure you're communicating those things. But also go think about, what are some of the changes that you're experiencing? What is your sleep like? Are you feeling fatigued? How's your diet? Is your body changing? Aches and pains, and what's happening? So I think bring all those things to the table, and I think when you do that, you'll impress your provider, and they're going to show up even in a better way for you as well.
I really think that's great advice. And I heard you mention the checklist. And I think we've all been in that situation where you go to see the doctor, and maybe you have waited days or weeks to get in, and then you forget to bring something up. And you're like, man, I really should go back and get that joint looked at. Why didn't I mention that? So kind of being prepared and really looking at it, I respect what you're saying, looking at it as a two-way relationship. You are in charge of your body, and you do know your body well. So it's important to communicate clearly too.
Yeah, and I think again, it's just a common bond relationship. So you need you want to trust that provider, and when you have that trusting relationship, then you'll be more forthcoming, and you know, it takes away the fear of, oh my God, I didn't bring up the aches and pains because I'm worried about the what if factor. So you got to bring these things up. You got to have those conversations, and you should look at your health coverage as part of the mix too. So if you enroll in a Medicare plan with Humana, for example, you know, we have health and rewards programs to help people, you know, kind of stay guided on the road to their health and wellness, and really, you know, inspiring their health and well-being.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing today. Appreciate having you, Kevin.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Thanks.
Yeah. Hey, if you would like to learn more about Humana health insurance plans in your area, you can call the number that is right there on your screen. You can also visit their website, humana.com/Medicare.